Hello, welcome to 2023. Welcome back to my channel, Invest with Tanya. We are here, we are ready to go and keep growing our investment portfolios. But if you are looking on where to start, this is the perfect video for you. I have quite a few tips that are going to be very helpful, especially when you're starting as a real estate investor. Just because, we start at this point and sometimes we just don't even know how to get started. Sometimes it just seems like such a big, audacious goal, and I'm here to break it down for you. So, number one, understand your financials. So, this is a really big one because a lot of you do not know where you're even at with your debt, with how much money you're bringing in, how much money is going out. We need to understand all of that in order for you to in order for you to start this, because how do you expect to know where you're going if you don't even know where you're at? It's like putting into a GPS, like, hey, I want to end at a duplex, but I don't even know where I'm at right now. This is going to help you tremendously, not even just in buying a duplex, but also just in life in general, because once you know where your money is going, you're able to help it flow a lot easier to the places that you want to get to. Sorry if my voice sounds like this. I've been dealing with a little bit of a cold, but we're going. Okay, so number 2, go talk to a lender. I know that some people recommend this as one of the very last steps that you take, but I recommend it to be really the second step, because a lender is going to show you exactly what you need to do. And in that, a lender is going to tell you why you do or you don't qualify. And if you don't qualify, make sure that you're asking all the questions like, hey, is it because of my credit score? Is it my debt? Is it because I need to make more money? Sometimes it's as simple as paying down a $300 credit card and raising your credit score. Sometimes it can be a lot harder and you might have to wait months before you're able to qualify, but at least you know where you're going. And you don't try to do it whenever you've already saved the money for your down payment, and then you find out that you don't qualify because of your credit score. So it's one of those things, like that is why I recommend it at the very beginning, so that way you know where you're going. That is all so important, because a lot of people um sorry, I've got something in my throat. A lot of people will just go for it. And yes, while yes, that is good, a lot of people will go for it and take the wrong action. So like you're walking down the path and you're walking, 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 and then you suddenly realize you're walking the wrong way from where you actually want to go. So that is what this is here to prevent. This is here to get the knowledge that you need first before you start walking. The third thing that I recommend is to have the least amount of consumer debt as possible, and of student loans. Even though student loans don't affect you as much as consumer debt, I still recommend keeping those as low as possible. Hopefully you've got none, but if you are struggling with debt, I will recommend you to start looking at ways to pay that off. Now, very, very, very important, do not close your accounts. Pay the balances down to 0, but don't close your accounts, because that can hurt your credit score. And one thing I do recommend, because I know that we all get to an age where we all want to get a car, and I would recommend and caution you to not get a huge car loan, especially for your first car. It's not like you're going to be driving it forever. I will admit, like, I had a small car loan when I started from the car that my parents bought me, but but after that, there came a time where I had to buy a new car because of a crash, and me and my husband opted for a car. It was a little bit older. We paid cash for it, but that has really helped us, because a lot of people don't realize that having a car loan will decrease the amount that you're able to qualify for. So that's very, very important that you have to realize that whenever you are getting into debt, any debt that you get into will also take away from where you're going. Oh my goodness, I forgot to put the banners. So let me put that on there. So just make sure you're keeping your debt low because again, like it's not like this is news. A car is pretty much dead weight because it depreciates in value every year. Um, and again, the huge monthly payment can cause can put a dent in what you can afford it for a house. So that is one of those things. As for student loans, like I said, it doesn't affect you as much, but again, the less debt that you have, the better you're able to qualify for a house. And honestly, for me, I don't know much about this and I have been researching it. So that's why I say it doesn't affect you as much because banks do take that into consideration that you're working to pay that off. But again, I have no experience. Me and my husband both worked 2 jobs while we were in college trying to pay off um, our quarterly tuition, as well as trying to make sure that we invest the little that we had left over. So, that brings me to my 4th tip, save. So, one of the things that I really liked hearing, and I'm sure you'll hear this is pretty much a cliche, but temporary pain for long-term success. Trust me, there were a lot of things that we did not do. We did not go on a vacation. We withheld our honeymoon for 2 years just because we knew that we had a bigger goal. So your why has to be big. Why are you doing this? What is causing you to stay in for dinner versus going out to eat? You have to have a big why. For me, my dad always told me like we have to create a better future for the generations that come than the past that we had. So that was really drilled into my head as a young girl and I was like, shoot, my dad pretty much gave me all that he had. How can I do better? How can I raise that bar for my kids? So so there was a lot of things that we did differently, and honestly, y'all, if I had to do it over, I would. If I had to go back and restart this journey, save everything that we can, not go on vacations, not buy like the expensive stuff, expensive purses, different things like that. I would do it again. That is one of those things that I will tell you because the position that we are in today, I could have never imagined, like even 2 years ago, I could have not imagined this position that we are in. And that is just because we have one, I chalk it down to luck, but two, hard work. We have worked really hard to be in this position. If you don't know my story, we have moved 5 times in 5 years. And that is really what helped propel us to be able to build this wealth. So just make sure that you're looking at your bigger why. Yes, we could have been YOLO and done everything that other people do, but in order to get different results, you have to do different things. So make sure you're looking at that. And yes, now we get to enjoy it. Like yesterday, we sat down and planned a vacation where we are going to pay for it in cash. And so that vacation won't follow us around after the vacation. Like just different things like that. Um, and we're enjoying it. We're going to do a whole bunch of things this year, and I'm so excited to be able to vlog it. But again, that wouldn't have happened without the previous years of us working at it. Okay, so number 5, what type of properties and loans to look for? Okay, so once the lender gives you the go ahead, I recommend looking at duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes. A fourplex is the biggest unit you can get under a personal loan, meaning it won't go into like a commercial status. And you don't want to go into commercial, trust me, especially as your first one. It's very, um, there's like a lot of stipulations to it, such as like having to refinance every 5 years. Personal loan is much easier to deal with. You can keep the same loan that you've got for 30 years and just pay it off. So, so I will talk about commercial loans more as I get more into them. Hopefully this year we'll be looking at buying a commercial building, but again, we're still figuring out what exactly we want to buy. So, anyways, back to duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes. What to look for? You're going to look for something that needs a little bit of cosmetic work and is ugly, meaning it's cluttered, meaning it's got ugly paint, meaning that it still has carpet in the living room. Things like that are going to help you um, basically just look. Sorry, it says that my signal went down. Okay, I'll just keep going. So basically, things like that. A lot of people are not going to be able to walk into a house and see all of that and picture themselves in it. You have to look beyond that. You have to look at when it's actually all said and done, when the walls are painted that pretty white color, when the floors are laminate throughout. You have to be able to look at the bones of it, not just what it looks like in present day. Because trust me, y'all, we have bought in some ugly duplexes. We have the first one that we had, cockroach infestation. The second one we had, the tan carpet was black, like, bad. But, that's one of those things that, like, we could see past it, and we knew that the space would function very well as a rental. I typically recommend to get a 3-bedroom, 2-bath duplex. Those are a little bit harder to find right now. So even if you guys can get a two-bedroom, 2-bath duplex, that is the next thing that I recommend, just because a lot of people like having that second bath. And it's just one of those things. So that is what you need to look at. You need to look at the potential in the space. You need to see beyond that. I can't harp on that enough because I have seen some clients turn some ugly spaces into some of the most beautiful places I have ever seen. Um, I will say, me personally, if it needs like a new kitchen, like a complete remodel of the kitchen, I probably won't go for it, especially at the beginning. Maybe now I'm still hesitant towards it, but I might take a little bit more of a risk that way, whereas I wouldn't have at the very beginning. Like, I am not afraid to change toilets. I'm not afraid to change dishwashers, appliances, different things like that. But as far as having to redo like a whole kitchen, cabinets, granite, all that stuff, I still typically will stay away from that. That is not to say that, the duplexes that I have won't get granite in the future, because they will, but it's just one of those expenses that I'm gonna let the laminate get a little bit more worn and before I decide to make that change, because it's not a necessary change. And I've asked my tenants, like, do you care if we're listing it like this, or would you prefer the granite? Some of them will say they prefer the granite, some of them will say no, this is fine for now. And I just explain, like, hey, so we're smaller landlords, sometimes we can't afford to do things, but we'll do it. Well, as we get the money, we'll do it, type situation. So that's one of those things that we have always tried to be upfront with our tenants, and you just learn to have good communication with your tenants and be able to fix things in a timely manner. Um, one thing, okay, on to the next thing, getting an FHA loan. That is pretty much one of the most important things that you could do. You have a benefit as a first time home buyer to get a duplex at a 3.5% down payment. So if your duplex is 300,000, which is kind of the norm around here, again, this is Arkansas. Some places may be lower, some places may be higher, but this is our norm. Your down payment is going to be about 10,500, not including your closing cost, which are going to be another 8,000, about there. So hopefully, with the market being the way that it is right now, you can ask for the seller to pay your closing costs and perhaps some repairs. So as a real estate agent, my my recommendation is for you to ask for everything up front and see what you get. So I wouldn't do both a price lowering and closing costs. I would do one or the other. Just depends on how much money you've got to play with. But generally, I'll recommend to my clients like ask for closing costs to be paid. And this is with houses staying longer on the market, you're able to negotiate a little bit more. So that is a plus in your favor as a buyer. And so once you get into the duplex, basically the process of what you're doing is house hacking, which is basically where you buy a house. So this also works with a house. You buy a house, you live in the owner's bedroom, and you rent out the other two bedrooms. Or a duplex is personally my favorite. You live on one side and rent the other. And obviously, with a triplex, it would work the same. Live on one side and rent the other two units. Um, and then you and then you're collecting rent from the other two units and you're able to pay for your side of it. So that is one of those things that if you want to learn more about house hacking, I do have a video on it which I'll try to link here. But another really good resource for house hacking is a podcast called Bigger Pockets. That is where I learned a lot of the things. So honestly, y'all, I am still learning to this day. I'm still learning about like Airbnbs. I'm still learning about commercial buildings, different things like that. So just keep learning about things and you'll be fine. But the reason I prefer a duplex was one because a duplex was all we can afford at this time, and sometimes triplexes and fourplexes are a little bit harder to find. But if you can find one for a really good price and the rents make sense, I would say go for it. Especially like if you have a really good feeling about it. I work a lot with like feelings. So if have a gut feeling that this transaction is going to be really hard, I don't touch it because I know that there's a lot of places out there. So you have to be patient in what you're looking for because you want to make sure that you are buying the best possible property for you, that it makes sense for your financials, and that you're able to keep in mind what the rents are. And there's a really good, um, well, personally, I think it's really good uh, way to tell the rents other than using a real estate agent, which is number one, of course. But number two is looking at a site called Rentometer, and I'll see if I can put it up here. But basically, this will tell you what the what the properties are renting for in your neighborhood. So let me go ahead and show you that. So that is how it's spelled, so you guys can use it. But again, like um, again, I probably use this more than what the MLS that I have access to. So go ahead and do what you need to do on that. Um, And the cool thing is that whenever you live in the space for a year, you can actually turn around and buy another property within after a year. So you can actually start looking around month 11 and move out right at a year. And you can do that with a conventional loan. But if you move into another duplex with a conventional loan, it's going to be 15%, at least in Arkansas it is. So talk to your lender, see if there's any way that you can get it lower because you can't qualify for another FHA. You can only have one FHA loan. So sometimes a lender is going to recommend that you move into a house with a 3.5% down payment. So again, a house you can move to another house with a 3.5% down payment. If you're looking to buy another duplex, it's going to be a 15% down unless you refinance the first one, and then you can get another FHA loan once you refinance it. But talk to the lender, make sure your financials are straight and that you're able to do that without any issues, because if the property hasn't gone up in value, it doesn't make sense refinancing. But if it has, again, talk to your lender and see what the best option is for you. Okay, so personal recommendations. Um, so this is one of those things that I might sound like a little bit woo on just because I like to move in silence. I like to tell people that like, I don't like to share what is happening with what we're doing until we're basically at closing day or even after closing day because I wanna make sure that everyone, that basically I don't get bad vibes. And I know that it's very easy to get excited about your goals and share them, but it has become my policy just because I know that there are some people that are not rooting for you, and maybe they're not rooting for you because they're jealous or because, um, they're afraid to step outside of their comfort zone, so they're causing negative thoughts in you. So just make sure that you're very careful with who you share this information with because just as easy as there's going to be someone rooting for you and hyping you up, there's going to be someone that isn't. And in my experience, I have seen both quite a lot, and we just prefer to move in silence just because of everything that has happened in these last 5 years. Um, and it has worked the best for me. I'm not saying that it's going to work the best for you. Just keep going with what you feel that is best. Once again, um, do what you need to do to achieve your goals. So the next thing is be patient because honestly, like if I could have easily given up on year 3 when I was tired, whenever we were remodeling the duplex. It was just a tough year. Like, that 3rd year was oof, it was tough. But that being said, like, if I would've given up there, I would've never gotten to the place that we are right now. So just be patient, make sure that the numbers are working for you. Don't just go into something because, it looks and would be the nicest thing to be in. Go into the thing that actually makes the most sense for you, and just don't overthink it. There are plenty of options, and you can do this. Like, I believe, like, if I could do it, anyone can do this. They just have to have a lot of grit, a lot of hard work, and just patience because that is one of those things that I lacked. And sometimes it does get the best of you. I will say there are many times that I have cried, that I have just been frustrated at the process, but now looking back, all worth it, all worth it. I would do it again, and again and again as many times as needed be. Okay, well, that was it for this video. It was a lot longer than what I thought it was going to be. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.